As Anakin pushes apart the son and the daughter, he feels a sense of the Force running through his body. Let them go! Anakin releases his final push, pushing the son and the daughter away from their grasp of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and he feels power running through his veins, his hands shaking from the raw power of the Force. He's fascinated by this sensation, yet he stays composed towards the father. Now fulfill your promise. Let us go, Anakin says. The father, without hesitation, lets the master and the apprentice go. However, he walks towards Anakin. You belong here. You are the chosen one. My allegiance is to the Republic, to my friends, Anakin responds. But your destiny belongs here, the father states. Before Anakin can reject the father's offer once more, Obi-Wan hears the conversation between the two and interrupts them. He's right, Anakin. You belong here. You are the chosen one. Anakin looks at Obi-Wan. But master, I'm no longer your master, Anakin. The Force is your master. You must stay. Anakin looks at Obi-Wan and the father, and he takes the time to consider what Obi-Wan has said. Finally, he says to the father, Yes, father, I will stay. Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Anakin never left Mortis? Well, if you have, folks, you're in for a treat today. So grab your bowl of bantha stew, sit down somewhere comfy, and let's dive right into what if Anakin had never left Mortis. After Anakin holds back the son and the daughter, he realizes the potential that rests in his soul. He knows that he could be the one to truly bring balance to the Force, and that it could be him that was the real chosen one. When the father tells him he needs to stay, Anakin initially hesitates. He's loyal to his friends and to Padmé after all. However, it isn't until after a conversation with his former master that he realizes that this is his destiny, and that he must stay. I must bid you farewell, Anakin, and may the Force be with you. Obi-Wan says, We will take good care of the 501st, and I will inform the Jedi of your decision personally, he says. Anakin smiles, placing his hand on his master's shoulder. Thanks, Obi-Wan. Are you sure that this is my place, though? I need to return to the galaxy and see Padmé. Anakin freezes mid-sentence, and he looks at Obi-Wan. I need to finish my mission in the galaxy first. Obi-Wan smiles back. Anakin, the Force brought us here for a reason. I believe that you need to explore what that reason is. The Order always told you that you might be the chosen one, meant to bring balance to everything. Maybe this will help you understand what that really means. Perhaps one day you can return. You're right, Master. Who knows? Maybe I'll learn a few things here that not even you could teach me, Anakin remarks. And maybe you're right. Maybe I'll be able to see my family again one day, too. I mean, the Jedi Order, of course. Obi-Wan sees that his apprentice is now set in his decision. He nods in understanding. Then a small smirk comes to his lips as he whispers in Anakin's ear. I'll be sure to say hello to Padmé for you, too, he says. Anakin laughs and shakes his head. Was that obvious, was I? I guess I kind of just gave it away there. Not that it matters, I'm staying here anyway. Subtlety has never been your strong suit, Anakin. The pair embrace, and they wish each other the best going forward. Anakin also has a heartfelt goodbye with his apprentice before they leave. You're not coming, Master? Ahsoka asks. Anakin sighs, shaking his head. Unfortunately, no, Snips. I have a job to do here. They'd need me on Mortis, and someone out there will replace me in the Order. I'm expendable, Anakin replies. Not to me, Anakin, Ahsoka whispers, a small tear forming in her eye. A pang of guilt pierces Anakin's heart. I've taught you everything that I know, Ahsoka. You're going to be a much better Jedi than I could ever be. I've told Obi-Wan to recommend you to the Council to graduate to the rank of Jedi Knight. You deserve it. You've seen more in the past few years than many Jedi have seen in their entire lifetimes. You have a bright future. I'll make sure to keep track of your journey, Anakin responds. Ahsoka jumps towards her master and hugs him. Anakin turns back to her, holding back tears. May the Force be with you, Snips. I'll miss you. You're like a little sister to me. Just as annoying as one, too. Anakin taunts, laughing slightly. Ahsoka chuckles softly. You're not so bad either, Annie. They break apart, and Anakin waves his goodbye to his friends as they board their shuttle and vanish into the skies of Mortis. Anakin lets a tear fall, and he wipes it with his sleeve. You'll see them again, Skywalker, a powerful voice says from behind Anakin. Anakin looks over his shoulder and sees the Father standing next to him.
In your new role, you'll have the power to shape their destinies. You'll be in charge of forging the path for the entire galaxy. You will see time pass by, and you will know the secrets of the Force like no other. You have shouldered a great burden. Are you ready to accept the task?
After a moment of quiet contemplation, and after wiping away his tears, Anakin looks the Father directly into his eyes. I'm ready, wise Father. Show me your ways. The next day, the Father begins teaching Anakin many new skills that he had never even heard of. He shows Anakin the ability of force healing first.
Do you see this little butterfly?
The Father asks. Anakin nods. It's dead, he replies. The Father reaches towards it and breathes deeply onto its wings, and Anakin watches as they come to life.
Is it, young Skywalker? Life and death are mere concepts to beings like us.
The Father then reaches out and uses the Force to drain the life force from the creature again. Anakin's jaw drops in amazement.
We have the ability to give and to take. We can harness both the light and the dark to maintain balance,
the Father teaches. He then shows Anakin how to harness Force Lightning, Force Judgment, Force Shield, Battle Meditation, the Sith Mind Probe, and many other abilities. While Anakin initially finds these difficult to achieve, he discovers that the power of Mortis flows through him, which amplifies his natural abilities and training. He manages to harness all of the powers that the Father shows him with relative ease, impressing the celestial being.
Skywalker, you continue to amaze me,
the Father states. Anakin smiles. Yeah, I have a history of exceeding expectations. The Father laughs.
It's good that you still have your humor, young one. Come, let me show you something.
The Father uses his hand to open a gateway in the Force to a new place that Anakin had never seen before. The pair of them step through it, and Anakin doesn't recognize where they are.
I sense your confusion, Skywalker. This is the cave that leads to what you Jedi have called the world between worlds.
I'm not sure that I understand, Anakin replies. I've never heard of that before. The Father laughs.
Oh, of course the Jedi didn't teach you about it. Come, let me show you.
The Father gestures to him, revealing another gateway. Beyond it, Anakin can see a strange celestial landscape.
Follow me, Skywalker, and all will become clear.
Skywalker treads in step with the Father, and he sees many things. He's troubled when he looks through one of the celestial doorways at the end of a long bridge of light and sees a vision of Palpatine, a man who he thought he could trust, twisting the galaxy into a sick image of the Sith dystopia. However, when the Father indicates for Anakin to look through another doorway nearby, he's equally as troubled to see a future where the Jedi take control of the Senate and pervert the Republic into a theocratic autocracy.
Both of these are possibilities of what could be, my young friend,
the Father explains.
When maintaining balance, we must look to ensure that neither are to occur. If the galaxy falls too deep into chaos, and there is one side that is more unbalanced.
The Father pauses, gesturing to a chaotic maelstrom in the corner of the world between worlds, separate from any gateway.
It is possible that she may escape.
Anakin's brow furrows as he hears a scream of sorrow in the back of his mind, emanating from that strange place. Who is she? Anakin inquires.
That is Abeloth. She is a mortal who became my wife for a period. However, she became too insecure about her mortality and wanted to hold on to the family that she had on Mortis.
The Father paused, looking melancholically towards the storm.
She bathed in the pool of light and drank from the font of power, and thus became corrupted and perverted. No mortal should ever do such a thing. I was forced to battle her and, with the help of an ancient alien hive mind, imprison her within the black hole cluster that you mortals have classified as the Maw.
Anakin meets the Father's eyes, and he can sense his pain.
We can never allow for the Force to become unbalanced enough for her to escape. Otherwise...
The Father trails off. I understand, Anakin finishes. I will keep the balance, Father. You can count on me. After a few months of training and becoming acquainted with the planet, Anakin can sense the Father's strength failing. He comforts the son and daughter as they watch their father continue to deteriorate physically, and he tells them the story of his own mother's passing. "We'll get through this together," he tells them both as the father quietly rests in his citadel. "I'll help you both get through it." Finally, on the father's final day, the son and the daughter are united in their love for him. Anakin stands to the side and watches as they hold his hand, similar to how he had held his mother in her final moments with the Tuscans. Anakin turns away as he sheds a tear himself, remembering that horrid day vividly in his mind. In that instant, Anakin hears the voice of the father piercing through his thoughts.
"Remember to maintain the balance, Skywalker. Remember to take care of my children."
Immediately after that, the father's body vanishes, and Anakin senses his spirit becoming one with the living force. The son wails in agony. "Why didn't you try to save him, sister?" he cries out. "You have the power to bend life to your will." A storm begins to emerge in the sky above the citadel. Anakin can sense the son's emotions starting to boil over, and he sees the darkness poking through. The son's eyes shift even deeper into their shade of crimson, and he fires a burst of red lightning at his sister. "It was his time, brother. Everyone passes into the Force, even us," she yells, casting her own yellow lightning to confront the son's attacks. Anakin's heart races. This would be his first time quelling the emotions of both of the two on his own. He could sense tensions bubbling over, and he knew that he needed to do something fast. So Anakin closes his eyes, and he musters all of his available strength to push the two apart with the Force. "Stop!" he yells, mustering all of the strength from the father's training. The son and the daughter are repelled from one another, each struggling against Anakin's power. "It was his time, just as it was my mother's. The Force takes and the Force gives, even with celestial beings such as you. It's just the nature of things," Anakin bellows, his force amplified by the Force. Anakin drops the son and the daughter, and they all breathe heavily. Anakin stands tall, his face stern, and the blue in his eyes glowing from his mastery of the Force. He looks at both of the celestial beings before him, each incredibly fatigued from their battle against Anakin's raw power. "The two of you will be at peace with one another," Anakin commands. "I am not your father. However, I now wield a fraction of his power, and it's enough to keep you two at bay. Stick to your roles. Be amicable with each other. I will be with you when you need me, and I will ensure that each of you are safe and have equal shares of this planet. However, I will not lean in favor of either of you. The Force must be balanced." The son and the daughter each look at Anakin. "Now go. Live your lives in peace," he orders. The son and the daughter both transform into their animal forms, respecting Anakin's wishes and leaving to deal with their own dominions. Because of Anakin's ability to quell the forces of light and darkness, the son and daughter manage to maintain peace on their planet. They do not fight, and when they require arbitration for any conflicts, they go to Anakin, knowing that he will provide judgment that is fair to both of them. Neither of them want to test his power again, even in their grief over the father. They mourn together, and their relationship becomes far more complementary than it was before. Instead of fighting, the brother and the sister work better together, using their unique abilities to prosper on Mortis. They converse more with one another, and their relationship grows. Because of this amelioration, ripple effects can also be seen in the galaxy at large. In Anakin's daily meditation, where he ensures the galaxy is balanced using techniques that the father had shown him to look at what was going on in the galaxy, he sees that events are playing out in an acceptable fashion. Anakin is saddened when he sees that Order 66 is executed by Palpatine, who defeats Windu in this story because Anakin is not there to step in, and he watches many of his old comrades, such as Plo Koon, pass away in service to the Republic. However, in contrast, there are many more Jedi that end up escaping the Purge. Anakin sees Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka leave galactic politics following the massive blow to their order, retreating to Tython to better explore the roots of the Jedi and get back to their original philosophy, finding out what had gone so wrong. In addition, Anakin sees that because of his actions with the children, darkness is also contained from overtaking the galaxy. At the prompting of Mon Mothma and the Senate, they vote to execute Order 65 due to Palpatine's many covert missions and war crimes that had been committed during the Clone Wars that she now had evidence of. Beyond that, the Clone Commandos also testify in the Senate about how they had discovered the Separatists outnumbered them significantly, yet the war was still being dragged on. Eventually, due to evidence compiled by Republic intelligence, it's revealed that Palpatine is playing both sides of the war the whole time. Palpatine is apprehended by the Republic military and convicted of treason. He remains alive, but he's sentenced to rot in prison for the rest of his days. When Anakin sees Padmé succeed Chancellor Palpatine, he's very proud. After giving birth to their twins, which he hadn't known about before he had left for Mortis, Anakin hopes that she can get a good example to them as a mother and the most powerful woman in the galaxy. She forges a peace treaty with the Separatists, ensuring that there is more peace than before, and that balance is restored in a government that Palpatine had plunged into chaos. Dooku, who isn't killed by Anakin due to his position on Mortis, has now achieved his goal, and he improves relations with the Republic once the sovereignty of his government is negotiated. The galaxy is at peace, and so is his planet. For the first time in many months, Anakin finds some rest. However, this was just the beginning of his journey as the new father. Eventually, the dark nature of the sun begins to creep back into his mind. He looks at Anakin with malice every time that he gives a judgment contrary to his interests, and he believes that he should be in the place of the father instead, ruling Mortis. Much like Lucifer in heaven, the sun begins to indulge these emotions, and he starts to scheme. One day, the sun visits Anakin alone. "Hello, Skywalker. What a lovely day on Mortis, isn't it?" the sun begins. Anakin looks harshly at him. "You may dispense with the pleasantries, Bogan. I know that you never come alone merely to discuss the state of the weather," he retorts. The sun is slightly taken aback. Anakin rarely addressed him by his name like that. However, it doesn't faze him. He's on a mission, and he would continue to press until he succeeded. "Anakin, I believe that you recall something about your wife at some point in the past. She lives in the galaxy at large, beyond our walls, correct?" the sun inquires. "Yes, she's the Chancellor of the Republic now. What's it to you? You're not normally so personable," Anakin replies. "I can sense your loneliness, Skywalker. I know you desire to be with her again, even though you now have all the power that you could have dreamed," the sun coos. He sees a crack in Anakin's demeanor. "Yes, I do miss her," Anakin says. The sun sighs. "I understand your pain, Anakin. I can feel it. It reminds me of how I feel when I think of our father." He allows his voice to trail off momentarily, soaking in Anakin's sadness. "How much did my father tell you about the woman named Abeloth, my mother?" Anakin returns to the moment, frowning. "He told me enough. He told me that she's too dangerous to even consider speaking with," he replies. The sun smiles. "Perhaps, or maybe the father was overstating things. I believe that Abeloth could give you more wisdom, more understanding of the Force. After all, she discovered the secrets to eternal life as a mere mortal. Perhaps she could tell you how to save your wife. Maybe your family could even live here with us on Mortis." Anakin scoffs. "I won't have your trickery right now, Bogan. Leave me, unless you have something of substance to say." The sun smiles. Even if he hadn't succeeded in that instant, he could sense that Skywalker was at least considering what he had to say. "As you wish, new father," he replies, turning to exit the Citadel. Soon, Anakin would visit that old monster himself, and he would be out of the picture in the sun's eyes. Abeloth's power eclipsed anything that Anakin Skywalker had ever seen before. When that happened, the sun could become a master of this world, and he could shift the tides of the galaxy in his favor. So long as Abeloth did not escape her prison, the sun would be safe. The sun remembers when she had used her powers to contain him and his sister, seeking to preserve their perfect little family forever. He shudders at that thought. However, then he smirks and chuckles to himself, knowing that Anakin would soon face the same raw power. If Anakin pursued his desire to see his wife again, he would once more take control of Mortis. Even though Anakin had remembered what the father had told him about Abeloth, he couldn't help but wonder about what the sun had said. Perhaps she did contain the secrets that Anakin desired. She'd been immortal, who now lived forever. Maybe she was better than the father had told him. Perhaps Anakin could reason with her. He was a different person than the father, after all. So, finally, Anakin allows the curiosity to get the best of him, and he ventures deep into the world between worlds. When he reaches the storm of chaos that is the Maw, Anakin takes a deep breath. He knows what he's about to do is risky, but it could also pay significant dividends. He could bring Padmé and his children to Mortis, and they could live happily together in the Force paradise. That thought alone prompts Anakin to step out into the void, floating through space without impediment by using some of the powers that the Father had taught him. When he approaches the black hole cluster, he calls out to Abeloth through the Force, and she responds, "Ah, you must be the Anakin Skywalker that I've heard so much about. Come, I'd like to see you with my own eyes," she says. Anakin, feeling the honey in her voice, approaches her through the black holes. When he enters, he sees a beautiful woman standing there, with blonde hair to greet him, and he wonders if she truly was the demon that the Father had described. "You're not what I expected," Anakin states sharply. Abeloth laughs. It sounds like a spectacular orchestra to Anakin's ears. "Ah, yes, I'm sure that the Father told you all of those awful things about me. In reality, I'm simply a woman who wants to be reunited with my family. You can understand that, can't you, Anakin?" she asks. Anakin closes his eyes and he feels Abeloth touch his cheek. "I know that you can. You want to see your family just like I do. I can see your mind. Yet here we are, both stuck in prisons forged by the Father." In the mind's eye, Anakin can see Padmé and his children on Naboo ready to greet him. "I can give you all of this, Anakin," she says. "I can take away your pain." Anakin feels so soothed, calmed by the presence of this woman. Had the Father been wrong? Abeloth just seemed so sweet. It was then that a pang of urgency shoots through Anakin. He can feel tentacles gripping his mind, and he can also feel Abeloth inserting herself into his brain. Not physically, but mentally. Suddenly, he gasps, breaking out of his stupor. "I won't have you control my head," Anakin snaps. "I came for answers." "I can give you all of those answers. Just let me take away your pain," Abeloth tries again. "No," Anakin asserts, pushing her backwards with his mighty command of the Force. Suddenly, Abeloth transforms into something twisted. Her smile contorts into a toothy grin that stretches across her entire face, and her pupils consume her eyes. Then, her arms become black tentacles that seem to pull for the darkness surrounding her. "If you do not let me in, Anakin," Abeloth says, "I shall enter your mind forcefully. You will make a spectacular host indeed." Anakin closes his eyes, returning to the meditative state that the Father had shown him. He calms himself, readying himself for a battle that would require all of his attention. Abeloth would never gain control of his head. He would make sure of that. Abeloth lashes out with her tentacles at Anakin, trying to envelop him with her grip. Anakin slips aside and he tries to push her backwards again. He's shocked when the being before him doesn't move at all, and Anakin looks at his hands, wondering what had happened. Abeloth simply smiles, more than she even had before, if that was possible. "This will be fun," she says, piercing Anakin's head with her powerful voice. She blasts Anakin with an incredible barrage of Force lightning, but Anakin counters with his own shield. He resists her attempts to push forward with the lightning, trying to direct it back towards her. However, when he manages to hit her with the lightning, she seems to absorb it into herself as though it were fueling her. Anakin's baffled. How could he counter something of this caliber? Then, it hits him. Anakin may not have been able to defeat Abeloth in the physical realm, but he could reverse her own tactics and try to enter her mind. While keeping his Force bubble up, Anakin tries to use the Force Mind Pierce that Darksiders had mastered to find information about her opponents, which the Father had taught him. "No," Abeloth says immediately. "I will not let you." However, Anakin keeps pushing, and due to his raw power, he wins the struggle. He sees into her mind, and he sees how twisted this dark being is. Even though she's immortal, she's lonely, fueled by an imbalance of power within her. Anakin sees that she wants to be a mother to the entire galaxy, and he feels a pang of empathy for this tormented being. "All you truly want is to have a family. Anakin says. "Get out of my head," Abeloth calls, trying to push back against Anakin's mental attacks. He's too deep inside now, though, and he quickly pushes her defenses aside. Anakin sees Abeloth's plans to overtake the souls of billions to achieve her goal, along with how she sees her actions as good. She would be taking the pain away of many, and she would bring balance to the Force in her own sick, perverted way. Her motives were almost admirable. However, Anakin could not tolerate the chaos that she would unleash on those who refused to submit to her. He releases himself from her mind and uses his final semblance of strength to consume her in Force judgment. Abeloth cries out in pain, not from the physical attack on her form, but from the mental probing of Skywalker. "I have pity on you, Abeloth," Anakin says between breaths, watching her writhe in agony in her prison. "However, I would never wish the life that you have upon anyone in the galaxy. The Father was right. I shouldn't have listened to the Son and his deception." Abeloth smiles. "Ah, that's my son. Always keen to tell a little white lie." He turns away from Abeloth, using his powers and the knowledge of the world between worlds to leave her in the maw. However, he looks back at Abeloth one last time, whose smile is still contorted into a sick grin despite her pain. "I hope that you find rest one day," Anakin says. "You deserve it after all these years." Then Anakin returns to the world between worlds, determined to never visit this cursed place again. When Anakin returns to Mortis, he sees that little time has passed. He chastises the son for his deception, but he says that he understands. He had seen the same desire to control everything in himself that he saw in Abeloth and the son, and it's a flaw that he realizes he must let go of in order to truly allow things to be balanced. He also realizes that he will never be able to grant immortality for Padmé and his kids. He would never wish the life upon them that he had seen Abeloth take on. One night, though, when the son and the daughter are asleep, Anakin uses the world between worlds to travel to Naboo. He sees Padmé, Luke, and Leia and Theed, and he calls out to them. When Padmé sees Anakin, she's shocked. She drops the things that she's holding in her hands and runs towards him. "You seem different," she says to Anakin as she hugs him. "You look like you haven't aged a day, and your eyes are so much brighter." Anakin smiles. "Padmé, I wish that I could describe to you what I've been through. However, it's all so strange. You wouldn't believe me even if I told you." Padmé says that Obi-Wan had filled her in on a little bit, but she didn't understand most of the details. Anakin shakes his head. "I don't think you would understand better if I told you anything." Anakin takes a moment to hug his children. "I know your names, Luke and Leia," he says. Padmé is absolutely astounded by this fact. "How do you know all this? You've been gone for years," she asks. Anakin's grin widens. Like I said, strange journey. Anakin knows that soon he'll have to leave. However, just for one moment, he enjoys the time that he has with his loved ones. "I love you, Padmé," Anakin says, looking deeply into her eyes. Padmé returns the gaze. "I know," she replies. The next day, Anakin once again leaves, telling his family that he hopes he can see them again. He enters the world between worlds, knowing that now he could handle anything that came his way after his battle with Abeloth. Even if she escaped, Anakin would be ready. Anakin was prepared for everything. Anakin had truly become the arbitrator of the Force itself. Finally, he had fulfilled his destiny as the real chosen one. Hey there folks, thanks for watching another What If video. Today, now we're going to transition over to our Ask Anything period, where I look at questions from the Discord and answer questions that folks put my way. So today is a question from Not Anakin, that's his name, yes, and he is asking me prequels or originals, and he puts in brackets, "Don't say sequels or else," with a red heart. It's kind of a funny question. Personally, I love the prequels. I know that the originals are objectively better, but the prequels have always just been super fun for me. I love the lightsaber duels, I love the CGI, I love the battles, and even the cheesiness is so much fun because of all the memes that surround it now. It's spectacular. However, every Star Wars era has a place in my heart. I love the originals too, and I also, believe it or not, hot take, enjoy the sequels. The Last Jedi is actually my third favorite Star Wars movie. I wasn't a huge fan of The Rise of Skywalker, but I like the other sequels. I'll do another video or another answer of this question in more detail because this wasn't the question and I'm kind of on a tangent now. But I want to talk about what I like about the sequels and what I don't like later on. If you have any questions about that, put them my way in the Discord or in the comments, and I would love to see what you have to say. Long story short, I love the prequels. I love Revenge of the Sith especially, and of course, we can't forget about The Phantom Menace, which introduced us to one of my favorite characters, Jar Jar Binks, and Boss Nass. Boss Nass is phenomenal. Love that guy. I love the prequels. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Bantha Stew as well. If you guys enjoyed, I would highly recommend that you leave your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think would happen next if you believe that a part 2 is necessary? What did you like about our story? What didn't you like about it? I would love to see what you have to say, and I would also like to hear, do you like the prequels, originals, or sequels as your favorite part of Star Wars? If you'd like to see your question answered, please join our Discord server. We're building a great community of Star Wars fanatics like yourselves, and I would love to interact with all of you and just see what you guys have to say. It's always a blast, so please come and join our Discord. Say hello to the Bantha Stew. Thank you all for watching today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, I would recommend checking out this other video, which is going to pop onto the screen here shortly, and see if you like that one as well. As always, I hope that you have an absolutely bantha-tacular day, and that you've had your delicious daily dose of Bantha Stew.